nothing intrinsically valuable with money. So what does it represent? It represents a store of value, but it's an absolutely horrible store of value. It doesn't take into account environmental concern. It doesn't take into account human concern. It doesn't even care about anything to do with sustainability, which are all valuable concepts. I think we should all agree to that. So what's the alternative? Well, there is an alternative option called the resource-based economy. Okay, quick rundown of the resource-based economy. Here we go. First of all, we would declare all of the Earth's resources as common heritage to all the world's people. Okay? We essentially, that means we move beyond this idea of ownership.
So you want to take the commons back, basically?
Yeah.
The resource-based economy is the application of the scientific method to social concerns.
Can I have a quick takeover? Okay then. For the first, I'd like to cover the ownership principle. At the moment, we own resources, like I don't know, iron this jacket and everything like that. We all own, most of our houses. We have a lawnmower at home. We have to start asking ourselves, for the resources that we don't use all the time, for example our lawnmower, why do we actually have one sitting in our garage all the time when it only gets used for 2 hours every single week sort of thing for the rest of its life? Why not have a lawnmower that is collectively owned by everyone? That basically as soon as you're done with your lawnmower, you say, okay then that's great, now my neighbour, I'm going to put it back and my neighbour can use it, or my next neighbour can use it, or whoever can use it. When we start looking at all the things that we actually use for very small amounts of time, we don't really have to own them. And to be honest, that ownership of that particular product, it means that you have to store it in your house somewhere. So it actually ends up being a burden on your actual life because you have to make room for it to be able to have it in storage full time sort of thing when it's not in use.
It's wasting space.
It's wasting space. It also wastes resources because your next door neighbour has a lawnmower as well, and your next door lawnmower has a lawnmower as well. A resource-based economy fundamentally is about the sharing, as he said, the sharing of all resources, which includes the idea that we use things for as long as we want to use them, and then we pass them on to the next person. I'll let someone else take over again.
Okay, to riff on that, what was I going to say? Yeah, basically we move from the system of ownership to a system of access. Okay, so what is that? What are the consequences of thinking like that? First of all, that kind of means that if everyone has access to the highest technological like goods and services that we can provide, if food, shelter, education, anything that we need, if it can be provided for free and people have access to that, what that means is that we have an incredibly high standard of living. If we have access to the things that we need, but also we use far less resources. Okay? If we just, like Sam said, if we are sharing goods and having those goods constantly in use and not being stagnant and wasting space and resources, that is infinitely more sustainable than what we have now in our consumption ownership driven economy.
I just wanted to mention that ownership comes from our need for ownership has come from scarcity within our environment. We've been in a situation where we've had to hoard things and stash them so that we can weather the storms of scarcity that may arise in the future. The resource-based economy works towards maximizing efficiency and creating an abundance using the scientific method for everybody. In our current system, scarcity is what creates value for things. So there's an inherent flaw in our current system where it creates scarcity deliberately so that people can profit from the scarcity. So we're never going to see an abundance in this current system.
How are you going to cope with peak resource depletion that is happening in the next 10 years within this scenario?
There's always new alternatives.
Can we give the example of oil? For a start, oil isn't sustainable. We all know that. I don't think anyone here would really argue that point. But we look at since the first priority is basically the Earth, as in the planet, because we live on this planet and we require it to survive. If the plants die, we die. If the bees die, the plants die, we die. So we have to put the Earth as kind of like the Earth and we have to put sustainability sort of thing as our biggest priority in actually looking after Earth. If we make it so for oil and so forth, we look at what oil actually does for us. Well, it provides us with an abundance of energy, or so-called a lot of energy. But if you look into how much energy is around when it comes to wind power, solar power, tidal power, and especially geothermal.
It's not just power though, it's also all the other chemicals that are used to make plastics, that are used to make fertilisers, that are used to make a lot of chemical,
Okay,
and a lot
awesome,
of processes, a lot of industrial processes involve those things.
I can happily answer that. When it comes to plastics and so forth, why don't we design everything so that it's 100% recyclable? Why don't we actually apply some thought into the way that we design stuff so that it lasts as long as it possibly can? But if it breaks, the only thing that it actually costs to replace it is the energy, and when I say energy, I mean sustainable energy, to actually break that product down into its basic components and then rebuild it again. That way we still don't have to pay for it, and the only thing it costs is actually energy to reproduce it.
Down sometime in the next 7 years because of resource depletion. Do you understand that concept more ecology?
As in because our energy is going to run out?
Because we have a whole bunch of peaks that are coming in minerals that aren't oil, that are going to affect some of the technology we take for granted right now.
I just want to hear your answer.
Can I answer that? We're never ever going to run out of everything. Even if we reach peak oil, what it really means is that oil is going to be too expensive for us to mine it to where it's economically viable. Without money, we don't have to worry about that, because if there's oil in the earth and we really need it, we'll just go get it.
Yeah, peak oil has actually happened in 2007. That one's been called.
Yeah.
It's peak minerals, things that they make computers out of. A lot of the peak minerals for cell phones, computers, and the high technology things that we take for granted now. Those things are depleting in about the next 15 years, possibly some of them in the next 2 to 3 years. So, there's consumption of continuing to have the same thing. We can't share things that won't be there.
Can we hear Ruby?
I just like to say that I think it's kind of, most people here probably acknowledge that the current consumer lifestyle isn't going to work, it's unsustainable, it's just causing massive amounts of waste. I don't think anyone would argue against
Energy consume. Let's not say we're going to keep the same rate of consumption.
I think what from what I'm hearing from this is that they're proposing a way that we how we manage the resources, not necessarily keeping the world the same, but actually they're trying to present us with piece of the puzzle. I don't think it's really trying to say how you run things. I think it's something that
I've just been reading a lot of economics lately. Basically, use less is the big message.
Yeah, and that's what
We just want to sort of press on and get a really comprehensive idea of sort of what it is we're presenting here, and then we can come back and ask questions. And I think a lot of the questions would be sort of self-explanatory as we sort of go.
Okay, moving on. The second aspect we want to talk about is moving from this competition-based system to a system based on collaboration. The goal here is the basic goal here with the resource-based economy is to get beyond this idea of scarcity. If we can give access to all the human needs that we all need to everyone, that will kind of free us to start working together on problems instead of always competing for market share. You know, like in this system, you can't be 100% like compassionate and honest and respectful and cooperative with everyone else. Say for example, if I owned a lamp store and I was selling lamps, if somebody came in and wanted to buy a lamp from me and I said, that's great, but actually my competitor down the street, the other lamp store, has like a similar lamp, it's better quality and it's cheaper, you should go buy his lamp. If we were that honest, we'd go out of business. And that's basically how our system makes us competitive. Even if we don't have a choice, we have to survive, we have to try and make a profit from each other. When somebody gains in this system, somebody else has to fail, because we're working in a scarcity-driven system. A lot of people think that humans are naturally competitive and violent with each other, because there's this whole concept of human nature being competitive and so forth. Sorry?
Someone's holiday, who believes so?
So,
Men are naturally competitive.
Can I have an example?
I just wanted to take on human nature, because what we don't realise is that our whole society has indoctrinated us into this competitive mentality, and we don't know anything else really.
Human greed is about as much as human nature is wearing clothes. Pretty sure we all had to learn how to put on clothes and so forth. Also, I'd like to explain that concept just quickly. What we mean by abundance is making abundance for everyone. Let's say we had a population of 100 people, and all of a sudden there was 1,000 laptops. Would anyone ever steal a laptop? No, they wouldn't. What's the point? You can't steal it and then sell it on because there's so many lying around. So we're in a situation at the moment where we can actually make an abundance of things, and we can make them with, of course, the cost of, all it costs really though to make anything is the human creativity, technology, resources and energy. There's an abundance of sustainable energy for a start. We're just not applying it because it's better for the oil companies and so forth and the coal companies to burn coal instead. When it comes to resources, we've never actually measured the amount of resources that are on this planet. Also, if you make sure that everything's 100% recyclable sort of thing, it's not so much of an issue. Human creativity. Human creativity is something that we're born with. We're born with our curiosity and we're born with our creativity. Sometimes during normal school, we start to lose that. I'm not sure how, but my point being is that the cost to actually build stuff doesn't actually cost that much at all when we put those things into consideration without the monetary system. I'll let Gordon or you guys carry on. I'm sorry if I'm getting sidetracked.
Okay, so yeah, when human nature, you can't talk about human nature without talking about human needs. Okay, once you meet human needs, which is what, like food, shelter, water, love.
If we were to take the whole world's food and sanitary basis, like the whole world of poverty takes $13 billion, that's currently how much Western Europeans and Americans spend on $13 billion. That puts it into perspective. Like we have way over
8 days of war.
It's so easy to solve our world's problem. We have the resources, we have the technology, we know how to do it. The only thing stopping us is money.